a missionary physician in UG Pines for around 2.5 years already, 2.5 years already. And this morning is my pleasure, my privilege to be with you in sharing something that I have been learning and discovering about fasting. I would like to pray before we start this meeting. Is that okay? Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for all your blessings. Thank you, Lord, for every moment that you are giving us today. Now that we are starting a new day, we ask you for your blessings and we ask you for your presence, that we can understand, that we can apply the principles that you giving us from your simple and natural remedies. Please, Lord, be with my brothers and sisters this morning. Be with me, and everything that I'm going to share with them, I ask you for your blessings. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. I studied the medical school in Montemorelos. This is a medical university in Mexico. For around 7 years, I've been taught that we need medications in order to cure, in order to treat conditions. But it was until I got here in UG Pines when I really understood the meaning, when I really understood how the body works and how you can treat your body, probably without using medications. I was working like a conventional medicine and I felt tired sometimes because people or persons with diabetes taking one medication, I have to change for another medication, probably another medication, up to third medications, and no progress. Persons with hypertension, the same story. The statistics about the use of the medications here in US is kind of afraid and scared. Over the last 10 years, the percentage of Americans who took at least one prescription drug in the past month increased from 44% to 88%. The use of 2 or more drugs increased from 25 to 31%. The use of 5 or more drugs increased from 6 to 11%. 1 out of every children and 9 out of 10 older Americans reported using at least one prescription drug in the past month. But the problem is not the use of the medications. The problem is the consequence to use a lot of medications. Each year, about 4.5 million of Americans visit their doctor's office or the emergency room because of adverse prescription drugs side effects. 4.5 thousand of Americans visit the ER because the side effect of the medications. Poisoning is a leading cause of injury death in the United States. But when I say poisoning, I'm talking about drugs, illicit and pharmaceuticals. Drugs are the major cause of poisoning deaths, accounting for 90% of poisoning deaths. That was in 2011, 5 years ago. So I can tell you that now the percentage is much higher. Side effects for medications given in hospitals kill an estimate of 106,000 Americans every year. The statistics alone effectively makes the medical care the sixth leading cause of death in the United States. The sixth leading cause of death in the United States. The use of the side effects of the medications. Well, the best way to avoid the adverse side effects of the medications and test is not to avoid the visit doctors. It's not to avoid the office of the doctors, but to avoid getting sick. To avoid getting sick on the first place. Ellen G. White, by the counsel from God, says there are some who will be benefited more by abstinence from food for a day or two every week than by any amount of treatment or medical advice. To fast one day a week will be of incalculable benefit of them. And I can tell you, persons with diabetes, when they start to fast once a week, when they start to apply the 2-meal plan, insulin resistance slow down, pre-diabetes stage reverse as well, hypertensive patients as well, they can modulate the high blood pressure only with fasting once a week. But fasting, my brothers and sisters, doesn't mean to fast for 24 hours or 48 hours. Fasting is just avoid or abstain food. That's the meaning of the fasting. That's the definition of the fasting. When I'm telling you fasting, don't put your mind that you have to fast for 24 hours to get the benefit of the fasting. If you fast for at least 5 hours in between meals, you are getting the benefits of this period without meal. Through the history, people of various cultures and religions have recognized the value of fasting. Paracelsus, one of the fathers of the Western medicine, he said, fasting is the greatest remedy, the physician within. Hippocrates, who is considered the father of the medicine, he says, our medicine should be our food, but eat when you are sick is to feed your sickness. Instead of using medicine, rather fast a day. My brothers and sisters, food is not just calories. Food is information. And when you are given the right information to your body is going to be able to recover or regenerate every cell in your organs. This is the meaning of fasting. It's for example, when you have an onion, and when you have a bursting in the layers of your onion, fasting, you are peeling the onion in order to take it out all these skins that is not healthy. Can I say healthy? So when you are fasting, it's like you are peeling this onion in your body. You are taking out all these toxins from your body. One of the earliest physicians that treat the people and using the fasting, it was Isaac Jennings. And he's not only used the fast like a remedy, he also discarded the use of the drugs. By the way, he is the father of the hygienic treatment. Fasting, vegetarian diet, pure water, sunshine, clean air, exercise, emotional balance, and rest. These treatment of this hygienic treatment continued into the middle of the 1900s by the Dr. Shelton, who developed a stricter protocol for fasting, water only, no enemas, exercise or treatments, and complete rest. What we can say about this man, John Harvey Kellogg. In the 1918s, the flu epidemic, Spanish flu, killed around the world more than 20 million of people. Well, interesting thing that the people that they were treating in the sanatoriums, like a Barrow Creek, they had 100% of healing with their water cure, bath, enemas, fasting, and naturals of foods. While the medical men and medical hospitals were losing around 30% of their flu cases, the non-medical hospitals such Barrow Creek, Kellogg, and My Faden Health Restaurant weren't getting almost 100% of healings with their water cure, bath, enemas, and fasting. Don't take me wrong. I'm not avoiding medications. I'm not against medications. But if you can avoid it, I recommend it. So, what happened when you are fasting? Or when you are eating, what happens? When you are eating, in our body, when you are eating, for example, proteins and carbohydrates, you are going to release one hormone from your pancreas that is called insulin. And remember this name, insulin. Insulin is the hormone that's going to be releasing by your pancreas when your blood sugar is rising. But where it's coming from, the blood sugar? Well, the blood sugar is coming from carbohydrates. It could come from, as well, from proteins. Insulin. The major role of insulin is in your adipose tissue, in your lipids, it's create or storage fat from your carbohydrates. When your body is not using the blood sugar, the insulin is going to grab it and it's going to put it in the form of triglycerides and in the form of cholesterol around your adipose tissue and around your muscle cells. And this is the principle of the diabetes. High blood sugar, high insulin levels, high levels of fat around your muscle cells, around your liver, and around your pancreas. That with the time you are going to develop a lipotoxicity. It's called the name, lipotoxicity, toxicity of lipids around organs, for example, the beta cells of your pancreas, that they are going to be producing insulin. And this is the best, the main concern for type 1 diabetes, when you are not producing insulin, because you were enabled to produce it because you have a lot of fat around these beta cells. This is a principle of insulin resistance. This is a principle of fatty liver as well. Too much sugar, too much insulin, too much triglycerides in your liver, and too much triglycerides in your muscles. Insulin is going to be high, is going to be elevated in the period of feeding, in the feeding period. If you are eating all the time, if you don't have a gap of at least 5 hours between meals, all the time your levels of insulin, they are going to be high. And this is a problem because insulin is not only going to produce this insulin resistance, but as well 10% of all the cancers are linked or are related with high levels of insulin. Insulin promotes inflammation. Insulin promotes fat storage. Insulin promotes protein storage. Insulin promotes, chronic inflammation, free radicals. But the counterpart is the glucagon. The glucagon is a hormone that is going to release the pancreas when you have a period without food, when you are fasting. Well, not only the glucagon, but cortisol, epinephrine, and growth hormone as well. But this is very important because in the interdigestive period, between meals, at least 5 hours between meals, you are going to be producing a large amount of glucagon. So what is the action of the glucagon? Well, the action of the glucagon is release glucose from your glycogen. Glycogen is sugar that is stored in your liver from the remaining blood sugar that your body doesn't use. Glucagon. Glucagon as well is going to increase the blood flow to your brain and to your kidney. That's why it's very important. People with tendency of Alzheimer's, people with tendency of heart failure, they need to fast at least once a week, but not only fast, they need to stop to eat in between meals in order to promote the circulation to your kidney and in order to promote the circulation to your brain. It's going to increase in your kidney the glomerular filtration, the water reabsorption. In your adipose tissue, it's going to promote the lipolysis or the breakdown of your lipids. That's going to promote it by your glucagon, breakdown of your lipids. By the way, when you are exercising, you are not breaking down your fat. You have at least to exercise for around 3 hours, but intense exercise in order to break down these fats from your muscle tissue. After 3 hours, after that your storage of glycogen, that is the alternative fuel, is the alternative, not alternative, is the alternative energy source besides glucose. So insulin and glucagon. High blood sugars, high levels of insulin, it's going to promote inflammation and fat storage, conversion of carbohydrates into fat. Glucagon, fasting stage, high levels of glucagon, breakdown of your lipids, and increasing your blood flow to your brain and to your kidneys. And we have this diagram here. High blood sugar levels, they are going to promote the release of the insulin from your pancreas. They are going to stimulate the storage of the glycogen from your glucose. And in this way, you are going to lower the blood sugar. They are going to promote as well the fat in your tissue cells. In the other way, low blood sugar levels, they are going to promote the glucagon. They are going to stimulate the breakdowns of the glycogen. But when you finish with your glycogen storage, you are going to start to break down triglycerides and cholesterol. And the major predictors of diabetes type 2 is triglycerides. If you have high levels of triglycerides, it's probably that you are starting already with insulin resistance, a consequence of high levels of sugar. Your body have when we are fasting, for example, we have only glucose is going to last only for 1 hour. The circulating glucose in your body is going to last only for 1 hour. After you finish this glucose from your food, you are going to start to take glycogen from your reserve or your storage from your liver and from your muscle tissue. When you finish with the storage of your glycogen from proteins and amino acids, you are going to start to break down triglycerides in order to produce a compound that is called ketones or ketones bodies. They are the alternative source of energy for your brain and for your body. We have only, in your body, we have only 2 tissues that they need a straight glucose. Erythrocytes and the cortex, the middle cortex of your kidney. They don't have a mitochondria, so they are not able to produce energy from fatty acids. So, if you really want to be benefit of the fasting, you need to fast at least more than 12 or 16 hours. Because in this time, you are going to start to break down triglycerides and cholesterol in order to produce energy, in order to produce ketones body. Sometimes a fasting of 24 hours is not enough. In 1950, in the University of Minnesota, they tried to compare the starvation or the food restriction or the prevention observations of food made during the Second World War. They took 32 volunteers who fasted for up to 8 months. Fasting, okay? Fasting, just water, nothing else. So they compare the prevention or the diminish or the decrease of food during the Second World War. Interesting thing that all these persons that they were fasting for up to 8 months, the fasting did not cause vitamin or mineral deficiencies. You can fast, even an average person of 140 pounds is able to fast at least, or you have the energy source to fast at least for 30 or 40 days. We have the example of Jesus. Before his ministry, before to have this call and start this holy work or healing ministry, he fasted for 40 days. So don't worry if you think that you are not going to be able to fast only for 24 hours. If your weight is more than 140 pounds, you have the adipose tissue here around your belly in order to maintain your body active, in order to maintain the well function of your body. Well, the research says that the fasting, it's very good for cardiovascular disease and hypertension. It's for diabetes. It's for epilepsy. of course, is for obesity, pancreatitis, immune and inflammatory condition. You are going to enhance up to 30% the well function of your immune system after fasting, up to 30%. But I'm telling you, the arthritis, lupus, and all these immune disease, they are going to benefit with fasting, up to 30%. It depends what kind of diabetes the person have. For example, if they have insulin-dependent diabetes, I will say that they have to be careful in order to start fasting. If they have a type 2 diabetes, I will recommend fasting without medications. No medication during fasting. Because you know, without food, your blood sugar levels is going to be low, plus the medications, you are going to lower the levels of the blood sugar. One is controversial about the type 1 diabetes because one of the actions of the insulin is to stop the lipolysis or the breakdown of the fatty acids into convert in energy. The type 1 diabetes, they are not producing insulin. So we have the warning that they can develop a condition that is called ketoacidosis diabetic. But sometimes your body is able to produce insulin in very low amounts. By the way, who's going to promote the well function of the receptors in every cell of your muscle cells in order to put glucose in your muscle cells is the insulin. It's okay. But who's going to promote the concentration of this transporter, because we need a transporter in order to put inside the cell the glucose, who's going to promote the numbers of this transporter that's called GLUT4, it's not the insulin, it's the exercise. If the person is taking insulin, they are going to start to require more insulin if they are not exercising. Why? Because the insulin is just going to promote is going to promote or going to stimulate the few amounts of a transporter that every cell of muscle cells in order to put inside the glucose. But who's going to promote the numbers of this transporter is the exercise. What I'm telling you is that even the persons with type 1 diabetes, that they are producing very low amounts of insulin, but if they exercise, they are going to increase the numbers of transporters, and they are going to be able to lower the blood sugar with low amounts of insulin. That's why here we recommend to everyone walking after breakfast and walking after lunch. Exercise. Depression, irritable bowel syndrome, duodenal ulcers, eczema, psoriasis, and asthma. What happened in your brain? And I'm fascinated with these chemicals that your brain is going to produce when you are in period of fasting and exercise. When you are fasting and when you are exercising, your body isn't on stress. Your body is going to start to produce a few amounts of free radicals that your body is going to be able to maintain in balance. When you are producing these free radicals in your neurons is going to start to produce some chemicals that is called neurotrophic factors, or BNDF. And it seems that the latest research says that this BNDF is going to enhance the synaptic plasticity. What is this? The communication in between cells. But not only this, they are going to promote neurogenesis. But I'm learned in the medical school that when you are 18, 20 years old, you are not producing more neurons, But this is wrong, because when you are in periods of fasting and exercise, it seems like you are starting again this neurogenesis, or promote or production of neurons, at least in your hippocampus. It's antioxidant productions, mitochondrial biogenesis. Everything in your body starts with the mitochondria. If your mitochondria is not working well, your body is not going to be working well. The mitochondria is the energy producer in your body. And also, it's going to promote DNA repair, BNDF, where you are going to be able to produce this BNDF only in period of dietary energy restriction and in period of exercise. Intermittent fasting once a week, and at least when you apply the 2 meals plan. What happened in your GI? In your GI. Well, in your GI, we have an hormone that's called the motilin. MMC, or migration motor complex, is a movement of peristalsis. It's a movement of propulsive movement initiated during fasting that begins in the stomach and moves undigested material from the stomach and small intestine into the colon. When you are fasting, you are producing a hormone that is called motilin. If your body, if your intestine, if your small intestine is not able to produce this motilin, you are not going to have a good movement. You are not going to have a good propulsive movement, and it seems like you are going to remain undigested food in your stomach, in your intestine, and in your colon. So, who's going to promote this good movement? It's the motilin hormone. Even it's called the housekeeper of the gut. Increase peristalsis in the small intestines and clears out the gut and prepare for the next meal. And this is very important because probably you heard already about leaky gut, or probably you heard already about SIBO, or small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. Or probably you heard already about this biosis in between the good bacteria and your bad bacteria in your intestine. Well, this is one of the principles, besides the overuse of medications. This is one of the principles. Why? Because this movement prevents, what it says? It's going to prevent the backflow of bacteria from the colon into the ileum, and its subsequent overgrowth bad bacteria that doesn't have to be in the small intestine is going to migrate from your colon to your small intestine. Why? Because you don't have enough levels of motilin, because the motilin is not stimulate this good movement, and you have like a paralysis in your gut. By the way, this leaky gut probably is one of the theories that explain Alzheimer's, explain Parkinson, explain rheumatoid arthritis, explain lupus as well, and many autoimmune disease, because very tiny pathogens, when you open a gap in between your small intestines produced by this overgrowth of bacteria, chronic inflammation, you are going to promote this gap in between your portal system, in between your bloodstream or your circulation and your small intestines, and they are going to travel very tiny bacteria or virus into your bloodstream, promoting or stimulate a chronic immune response. This is one of the theories. Well, what happened in the cardiovascular disease? Studies of the effects of fasting of patients with heart disease began in the early 1960s. Improvements not include reductions in serum triglyceride values, blood pressures, atheromas, and total cholesterol levels. Increase the ratio in between the good cholesterol and the total cholesterol, and not only that, it's going to alleviate some of the symptoms of congestive heart failure. Serum triglycerides lowers the triglycerides, lower the cholesterol, and also is going to enhance the ratio in between the good cholesterol and the total cholesterol, which have to be below 2.5 or below 2.5. I mean 3.5 to 1. In 2001, it was performed on the study with 174 consecutive patients with high blood pressure. All the patients were able to achieve blood pressure sufficient to eliminate the need for medications, and more than 90% became normotensive. In patients with stage 3 hypertension, where you have the blood pressure up to 108 milligrams of mercury, the average reduction in systolic blood pressure exceeded the 60 points. Another study in 2002, they took 30 patients with high blood pressure participating in a residential health education program that included the supervision of water-only fasting for an average of 14 days. After a year, the blood pressure reduction and weight reduction and an average reduction in combined medical and drug cost for almost $2,700 per year per subject. It was around 14 days. Yeah. If you really want to have the benefit of fasting, you need to fast up to 72 hours. Even the persons they are going to receive chemotherapy, I'm not advising about chemotherapy, but they have to fasting if you want a better results, they need to fast for around 120 hours. I mean 5 days. Because it seems like 5 days of fasting is when you are going to receive. Even is a time of the amount of time when your body, when your immune system is going to regenerate up to 30%. 5 days or 120 hours. At least. But you can start fasting once a week. Remember, I will have to tell you that if you want to fast at least for 5 days, be careful, and if you can able under supervision, it'll be great. What we can say about diabetes? Diabetes, a combination with diabetes and obesity. Type 2 diabetes. They follow up patients. Over the last 25 years, type 2 diabetes have successfully fasted with subsequent reduction of elimination of required medications through successful long-term follow-up. Appropriate lifestyle maintenance post-fasting. In general, initial weight loss during fasting is approximately 0.30% of your body weight per day. And remember, if you are fasting only 12 hours, all that weight that you are going to lose is just water. Because remember, 80% of your glycogen is water. So don't get excited if you are losing weight, because the next week you are going to gain that weight. You need to fast at least for 3 days if you really want to break down the fat in your body. Look at this. Perhaps the most famous study on obesity appeared in the postgraduate medical journal in the 1973, which reported the experience of a 27-year-old man who fasted without complications for 382 days and lost 276 pounds. 27 years old who fasted for 382 days, only water, and lost 276 pounds. Can you believe this? You can fast only for 1 day. You don't have to fast for 1 year. Second? I'm not sure, but at least he lost 276 pounds. So you can imagine how was your weight before. And the most important, no complications, because your body is going to be able to take energy from your fat. If you have a good amount of storage, use it. Use it in a good way, fasting. We have a testimonial from one of our guests. He was a man of 57 years old with diabetes type 2, obesity, and high cholesterol. 12 years using insulin, 30 units in the morning, short action, and 30 units in the evening. 60 units plus Janomid, that is metformin and other kind of medications. He started the program fasting for up to 72 hours, and then he fasting once a week. Remember, it's not just fasting. It's all the environment of fasting, of the natural remedies, walking or exercise, greens diet, sunbathing, stress management, and spiritual counseling. It's not only fasting. It's the whole program. Immune and inflammatory disorders. Decrease in the erythrocyte sedimentation. What is this? Is the inflammation marker in your body. Decrease arthralgia, decrease pain, stiffness, and decrease the need for the medications. In the 1984, an US study of 43 patients found a significant improvement in grip, strength, pain, swelling of proximal interphalangeal joints, pain in the joints, inflammation markers, and functional activity after a fast of how many days? 7 days. Like I tell you, and don't get discouraged. If you are not able to fast 72 hours, at least start working in your program 2 meal plans a day. At least fasting from lunch up to the breakfast, at least 16 to 18 hours every day. Every day. Yeah. I forgot to tell you about the motilin. But the motilin hormone, remember that the hormone that is going to promote or stimulate the good movement in your gut in order to cleanse your gut, your intestines, is going to be blocked when you are eating between meals. So if you are eating at 8 o'clock, but at 10 o'clock you are eating your snack, forget about the motilin and forget about your movements. You are going to blockade this movement and you are going to stuck. The food is going to get stuck here in your intestine, probably in your colon. The other situation that is going to promote the block of this motilin hormone is a lot of acidity foods. For example, dairies, meat, and sugar. High levels of insulin. And this mottling hormone is going to be promoted in the interdigestive period. As long as your interdigestive period, the better production of this hormone. 2-meal plants. This is the reason of the 2-meal plants. Prevents leaky gut, prevents chronic inflammation in your gut. General principles to fast. How we are going to fast. Low salt, low salt diet, vegan, high fiber, low fat, low protein, and low sugar diet before and after fasting. I would recommend to you, if you can break the fast with a broth, with a vegetable broth, is the best way in order to prepare your stomach for solid food, a broth vegetables. For example, you are going to steam celery, spinach, carrots, any other vegetables. You are going to drink the juice the next day of fasting, and probably the second meal you can start with greens, and probably the next day you can start with 100% solid food. Remember, after fasting, 80% of your food, they have to be salads, they have to be fiber. Here in US, the Western diet, it's only, you are ingested only around 10% of fiber, which the recommendation is 35 grams of fiber. But this recommendation of the FDA, of the WHO, is not even enough. At least you need 65 or 70 grams of fiber in order to maintain the good flora in your gut in order to prevent chronic inflammation. There is a condition that is called leukocytosis or digestive leukocytosis. What is this? Well, it's the promote or the stimulate of your leukocytes, that they are the cells of your immune system, that they're going to promote the release of chemicals stimulating chronic inflammation. If you are not eating salads, you are propense to develop digestive leukocytosis of chronic inflammation. That's why you need to eat salads or fiber. What about sugar? The sugar, it's considered 8 times more addictive than cocaine. In one study in rats, they feed 100 rats, and they give them water with sugar and water with cocaine. At the end of the study, 80 out of 100 rats, they prefer water with sugar than instead water with cocaine. In the 1920s, you can get cocaine in the free market. You didn't have any problem to get cocaine. After the 1940s, the Coca-Cola would say, okay, no more cocaine. We are going to start with sugar and caffeine, which is probably more potent than cocaine, or more addictive than cocaine. General principles of fasting: rest. Don't lose your energy during fasting. Get some rest. The best beneficial in order, the best step in order to get the beneficial of fasting is don't spend your energy in activities. Rest. Either way, for one day or for a long period. When I tell you that rest is, I don't tell you that you have to lie down in your bed. Yeah, it's for one day even, yeah. I'm not telling you that you have to lay down in your bed at 24 hours during fasting, but I'm telling you, you don't have to do a severe or exercise or intensive exercise. You are allowed to walk. You are allowed to be in nature. That's the best thing that you can do during fasting. Exercise during fasting or while fasting is discouraged. Rest is the most important aspect of the fast, and patients may nap through the day if they want. Food conservation is necessary, or energy conservation is necessary to allow the maximal healing and the avoidance of necessary gluconeogenesis, I mean formation of sugar. Sunlight is important for general health during fasting. Pure water. Pure water. If you are taking medications, don't take your medication. If you are taking medication for the blood sugar, don't take it during fasting. If you are taking medication for the blood pressure, make sure that your blood pressure is not too high. If you don't need it during fasting, don't use it. Just make sure about your blood pressure. Contraindications of persons who cannot fasting. I will say that mostly, or most of the persons can do it. Pregnant women, probably, they cannot, or they are not able to do it. In some studies says that the ketones bodies, that ketones or the energy source from your fats while you are fasting probably is not very beneficial for the product, I mean for the fetus. Persons, I mean children, if the children they are underweight, well, they are not going to be able to fast. But it's not contraindicated in children either. Okay, in kids, it is not contraindicated. Persons probably with anemia. With anemia, they are very fatigued, they are very weak, so it's not going to be able to at least last a long period of fasting. Fasting is not a magic pill. You need to add another tools in order to have the benefit of all this fasting, all this fast. In the Bible, yeah? Say again? Well, you can say that intermittent fasting. The intermittent fasting is sometimes skip lunch, sometimes skip breakfast, sometimes fasting once a week. The fasting has 3 stages. The first one is that turbulent fasting is up to the first 72 hours. It's when your body is get adjusted to this new detoxification. The second term or the second stage of the fasting is a plateau. Is when your body is able, up to 5 days, is when your body is able to maintain your well-functioning only with ketones. There are many kinds of fasting. Fasting for once a week, intermittent fasting, 2 meals planned, that we can say fasting for only for 12 to 16 hours. Remember, fasting is only, or the definition of fast is abstain of food. You can drink water, but no carbohydrates, proteins, neither fats. Yep. Well, this is one of the typical questions, sister, but if you really want to get the benefit of the fast, do it just water. Why? Because the juice contains carbohydrates. When you are drinking your juice, you are going to use these carbohydrates in order to maintain your body active. So you are not going to benefit from the ketones or the fat breakdown in order to produce energy. You can do that using fasting for other situations, but if you really want to get the benefit of fasting, do it plain. Well, there is not a specific test to measure the levels of fat in your liver, but the glycogen in your liver, you said. Probably there is not a specific test, but at least you can measure your hepatic functions. Their hepatic function. They are going to give you probably a clue about what is happening in your liver. Okay, in the Bible, one more question. Well, at least from lunch to breakfast, it's going to be around 16 hours. Probably I didn't understand very well your question. Yeah, it's not going to be more than 20 hours. It depends how is your schedule of meals. Well, I can tell you that 2 meals. This is a plan that you have to apply like a normal plan. We don't need the 3rd meal. I will tell you why, because in the night or during the night, your cortisol and your adrenaline, they are going to be producing glucose. If you add more glucose, you are going to raise the levels of your blood glucose, so levels of your insulin. So by physiology, you don't need a 3rd meal, because in the night, naturally, your body is going to be producing glucose with the action of your adrenaline and with the action of your cortisol from glycogen. Okay, my brothers and sisters, we need to finish. Isaiah 58, and this is very important. We spoke already about the physical fasting, but what is more important is the spiritual fasting. Isaiah 58:6, it says, "Is not this the fast that I have chosen? To loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, and that ye break every yoke? Is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry, and that thou bring the poor that are cast out to thy house? When thou seest the naked, that thou cover him, and thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh." This is a true fasting. This is the meaning of the fasting. Fasting is not about me. Fasting is not about myself. Fasting is about love to God and love to others. But it's a promise. "Then shall thy light break forth as the morning, and thy hail shall spring forth speedily, and the righteousness shall go before thee, the glory of the Lord shall be reward." The verse number 11 is the verse that I like it. "And the Lord shall guide thee continually, and satisfy thy soul in drought, and make fat tiny bones, and thou shalt be like a watered garden, and like spring of water whose waters fail not." This is the true fasting. Love God and love to your neighbors. The true fasting is not about me. It's not about yourself. It's about love. I hope and I pray that you can experience the two beneficials of the fasting. Thank you, and God bless you.